Recording.
Perfect. All right, good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock and I'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum present with only one member absent. Going down the agenda, we have citizen comment period. Are there any citizens in the audience wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to consent item. Item 1, consideration and possible action to approve the December 7th, 2023 library board meeting minutes. If you don't mind taking a look at them, if you have any amendments or requested changes, let us know. If everybody is comfortable, is there a motion to approve the minutes? A motion, Mary, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Christina, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, this passes. Christina, would you mind signing these since Morgan is out? Thank you. Moving down the list to continued business consideration and possible action of the circulation policy. Jessica, I know you brought forward some more recommendations for changes.
Yeah,
Walk
so
through.
I remember the last time we tabled it because the text share was super confusing as far as distinguishing between the text share and non-resident and getting confused with like the policy side of it and like the procedural side of it on the staff's end. So the first thing we did is I went through and we made this look like the collection development policy with the numbering system to try to keep it as consistent across the board. And then the collection development policy, we didn't change too much except where it's on the chart, if you go down to the chart, the guidelines chart, it's the resident and non-resident library cards. It used to say resident, non-resident, and youth cards, except there's actually not a distinction in our system for adults and youth cards. It's just a regular resident card. And so there's no different limitations or restrictions. So we took that out to kind of prevent any confusion. It's just resident, non-resident. We can't add an age limit on our side, but it doesn't affect what the card actually does for our patrons. And then we're just calling, let's see, and we changed some of the lingo at the very end. If you scroll down, and we changed some of the lingo, scroll back up, with the materials reserved by another patron are not eligible for renewal. So we went and we just kept the language consistent and took out like where it would say holds, because that's library jargon. And so we thought renewal would be better. So we adjusted that so it's just this very consistent and can read pretty plainly with if someone has an item on reserve for them, then it's basically not up for renewal. So we changed the lingo on that to just make it easier to read. And everything else, we pretty much just kept the same because it all read pretty clear to us. So I don't know if it reads clear to y'all, but
I had some notes.
I love notes. I'm here for it.
Under the text share library card, in the guideline chart,
Yes.
it says no renewals, but in the text share policy, it says one renewal.
Ooh, I think right now we have no renewals in our system, and the text share policy, oh wait, let me pull that up. The text share policy is going to be what we implement. So this should reflect what we want to do. So it should be one renewal. your edits?
Do one, that way it's consistent with the above.
Yeah. Renewal.
And then very picky, since we're already in the chart. I don't know if Blu-rays needs an apostrophe. Anytime it's,
Oh, it probably doesn't.
well, an apostrophe.
Good catch.
That felt very picky, but
No, I'm here. I'm like, yes. It needs. It's like, we are librarians. We should have the punctuation correct.
I find it a little confusing how the renewal period is for the first section versus the second section. The way this says 21 days, 2 consecutive renewals allowed. And then this one just says 1 renewal.
So the intent here, Jessica McCarthy,
Mhm, yeah.
not Jessica, is that if I am a resident and I have my card and I'm getting a book, I
Yeah.
have 21 days to enjoy that book.
Yeah.
I then have 2 options to renew for an additional 21 plus 21 days.
Yeah, so like an
correct?
additional 42 ultimately
Total.
total, yeah.
42 after the 21 initial.
Yes, so,
So I think here, we just shorten this to 2 renewals. That way it's consistent. Does that clarify your concern?
But now the heading, does the heading make sense now? Renewal period and frequency?
maybe just renewal frequency.
yeah, I think renewal
Options.
frequency would probably make more sense.
Yeah, I like frequency.
Does that make sense? I'm like, because if it doesn't make sense to y'all, it's not, might not make sense to a whole bunch of other people, so we want to make sure that it's pretty clear and easy.
And these renewals will be automatic if things are not returned or?
Yeah,
Yes.
so, at the bottom, it will say, it says renewals extend the due date 21 days from the time of renewal. As a courtesy, the circulation system automatically renews it. So that's why we put that at the bottom, so
Yeah,
people know.
I think that makes sense. If it's automatic, then renewal frequency, I think. makes-
And those are the only things I think we kind of paused on this because of the text share card, if I remember, and that was a little confusing. So we kind of tabled both items. And this is just the circulation policy. This doesn't, isn't the like the library card policy for how to get a library card. So that's just something else. Keep in mind.
And so you mentioned that the system does not distinguish by youth versus adult.
It doesn't distinguish.
Does the language that we have here regarding youth conflict with what your program could do? Or are we just kind of agnostic to youth versus non-youth throughout the rest of the policy?
What do you
Does that
mean?
make sense?
Say that again.
Yeah, no. So everywhere that we have descriptions of youth
Yeah.
criteria here,
Mm-hmm.
particularly, we don't have library card. We're going to verify who you are.
Yeah.
Is that really the only time that we even mention that youth is a thing?
Probably because an adult would show their ID and a youth wouldn't have an ID, so they'll be asked for their address and phone number.
And we don't address youth anywhere else here, correct?
Maybe it could be collapsed because there are youth that do have IDs and there are adults that might not have an ID. Would they be also a bit, like, would they also be allowed to verify with?
We actually had this, we had this conversation, Jesus, Michael and I, because we were talking about this. And we were like, should we just say like a general statement that should be allowed for anyone that's like, doesn't bring their ID or their library card? But then when we thought about it, and to even get a library card, you need a form of ID. And so, that's kind of why we just stuck with the youth, but we did debate on this for a while because I know a lot of times people will come in wanting to check things out and they might not have their card, and that's why we push for people to like put their number, like even just their library number in their phone or something, because they can use the self-checkout. It's usually the youth that we realize that we usually have to give their numbers to, more than adults. But
How would you know it was a youth if they don't have an ID?
that's so when we go to look up their account, they'll give us their name usually. And then when we look up their account will say youth on it. And their accounts do have their date of birth on it. So we can tell like if they're under the age of 18, and we'll ask like their address, the email address attached to the account, other verifying information. So on our end, like on the library side, we can't see if it's a youth, if it's a teen, or if it's an adult. But the card type is still the same for all of them. It doesn't matter age. It's this, they can check out the same amount of materials. They have access to all the same stuff.
So according to the policy, if you're 17 and you come into the library and you say, oh, I forgot my library card, then the person at the desk will say, that's okay, you can just tell me your address and I will let you check out. But if you're 19 and you come in and you say, I forgot my library card, then the person at the circulation desk will say, hold on a second, let me look you up and see if you are a youth or not. And then they will have already pulled the person up in the system, but say to them then,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
you've got to have your card.
Yeah, that's why we were playing with the idea of taking out youth in that particular spot. We haven't really come across it, honestly, where we've had adults ask for their library card information, where we had to go through that process. So that's why we kept it, because like in practice, it really hasn't been a big deal, or really has affected how we like operate.
Yeah, and I'm not arguing
Oh,
with
no,
it.
yeah.
I was just thinking through like what that would actually look like and feel like for
Yeah.
a patron if they were experiencing that. And I totally respect that the people at the circulation desk it may not be practical for them to be constantly looking up people's addresses or verifying phone numbers instead of having people use a card. I just wanted to make sure I understood and kind of like thought through what that patron experience
Oh,
would be
yeah.
like.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, we probably were on that particular, literally this particular line for a solid 10 minutes yesterday, going back and forth with it, because of that. Because we're like, well, there are people that could come in that don't like have their library card, but then usually we're like, usually with adults, we make it where in here it says are ultimately responsible for their physical library card and library account, including like account balances of borrowed items. So we tell people right up front, like store that number, save that number, because it's the number, it's not that physical card, right? And so because of that, most adults will just come in and they have their number memorized, they'll have it on their phone and they just go to the self-checkout right away. But I can see where you're coming from, and we can go either way with it. We were more nervous, so on the other side of this, we were nervous that maybe someone could come in, not that we're saying this would happen, someone could come in saying they're like, hi, I'm Miss Betty, and I live at this address, and this is my phone number. And that information like can be easily searchable on the internet. And so then like when we just checked out to someone who said they're Miss Betty, and they might not be Miss Betty, but they were able to like look up her information on the internet and verify that. And so that was the one thing that put us on pause on our end, with that.
So if I understand, then the point,
Mhm.
the objective is,
Yeah,
if you are clearly an adult and you come in, you don't have your card,
yeah,
but you have a license or some type of ID,
yeah,
then it's easy enough for us to say, yes, you are this person.
yeah.
But because youth come in, if they don't have a card,
Mhm.
often they also do not have any kind of form of ID.
Yeah.
So here's an extra pass for kids
Mhm.
to get through that process. Okay.
Yeah.
Especially if the risk of searching up on the county appraisal district or anywhere else that's publicly available.
Right.
Get your address and your name and everything else isn't the thing for a 16-year-old, it's for
Yeah.
a 50-year-old.
And this is with our intent was usually like, it's usually like middle school, like what, 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, like 13-year-olds coming in using the library. And just trying to figure out a way to make it where if they have an account and they're like, well, I don't know my library, I don't know my library card number. And you're like, it's okay, we can look you up. So just trying to make it where they can still like access the materials app and check out.
I wonder if it would be helpful to reorder the bullets a little bit so that it reads like when borrowing materials from the desk ID, and then following that bullet would be if youth. Because I think that those two thoughts kind of run together. It's like, we're gonna ask you for your ID, well, unless you're a kid, and then we won't ask you for your ID. We can verify you other ways. And then that one that's in the middle, like if presented, staff will assume, that might be a little bit confusing in between those two statements. Maybe if if a library card is presented comes before when borrowing materials or after if youth, or something like that. Yeah, just not in between.
Is the consensus before this bullet or after the youth bullet?
I think maybe.
After.
But now we've bifurcated the youth sections between.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer that?
Yes, I think that's really good.
I would think that the last one, for me following order, that one would be
The first one?
Third.
I think a third. It kind of flows a little bit better.
Mm.
And the one that says if youth under the age of 18, that seems kind of redundant. I would say,
Maybe if we just took the age out and just said if
I would say youth who do not have their library card and have a borrowing. Or individuals under the 18 who do not have them.
if we leave it as youth, it's kind of, I think. Is the age, is the age the issue, that part, or?
Is that difference?
I think we can take out the word, oh, after 18.
Probably need a comma between materials and library staff.
Youth under the age of 18 do not have their library card. Library staff will verify.
No, it has to be.
Has to be who?
It has to be who, yeah. If we're gonna keep who. If we're gonna keep her, it's who.
Something's, wait, so now when I read it, it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
So I think something happened to it.
It's that library staff will verify. If
If individuals.
or for. If, then we can
And then
take
you
out the
can
noun.
take out
and say
who,
that.
yeah.
There we go.
That's it.
Just the word.
Oh, English.
Yes.
Now the comma needs to go away.
Then
Good job. What?
it should be a if then library staff will verify. if individuals, yada, yada,
It
yada,
does need to be a comma because it's a
then
support
staff,
network.
then library staff.
Then or comma.
Yeah, one of the two. Comma and then.
Yep.
Yay.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get
I
there.
think it's just messing with us.
It's having a good time for sure.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe it just doesn't like you. If individuals in the age need to not have limited time buying materials, then library staff. Maybe it's because they don't like that we're calling library staff without the.
So it's like address and phone number.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
such as. Figure out words.
I always think of that pageant contestant that's
Mm.
such a.
I told you to change it to like instead of such as. I like such as.
All right, forget the machine. We're gonna do it our way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But how do y'all feel as a whole with that part? Cause like y'all are ultimately like the voice of our patron, so.
I feel better about it now that I've thought through it. I know I raised concerns. I needed and wanted to think through it a little bit. But
Yeah.
now that I have heard what everyone has to say about it and thought through it, I think that it makes a lot of sense and balances access and also making sure that things are secure and done properly.
I'm glad we talked through it, cause it helps me too.
I have some questions about some other sections.
Yeah.
I have a question about section 5, if anyone has anything in between. The statement is materials will be considered overdue unless they are received by the due date. I just thought it might run nicer if it said materials will be considered overdue if they are received after the due date.
That reads cleaner. If they're received after.
The due date.
Yeah.
And Jerry, I know you've not been part of all the conversations, just to make sure that you're on the same page with our intention here. Is that we noticed when we started the review with all the policies, there'd be 3 or 4 places where it talks about fees.
Mhm.
And the thought is that in the future, if fees need to change up, down, whatever, it'll be easier to go to council with one document that says, here's all the rate sheets versus trying to say, we're gonna update 5 different policies 5 different times and something gets missed and then we're saying 2 different numbers.
The rates are all included in the budget ordinance and the fee schedule, so you can just reference that.
Yeah. Perfect.
Cool.
In section 6, the statement in parentheses, the period after schedule, the period should
Oh, yeah.
come after the print.
That's a good one.
Director, in that second paragraph, you have public director, but then on the third line, it's director only.
At the director's discretion.
Could it just say like the director?
Well, after it says Kyle Public Library Director, you can put in parentheses, director. And that means every time
We
afterwards.
talked about that, but we have not done so
Still been
throughout
done.
consistently.
Plus all the villains.
Yeah,
Correct.
but we have had that conversation.
All the way, it's up to you guys.
We're just gonna slog through.
It's up.
Uh,
Up,
Yeah,
not,
I was like,
something's,
I'm
yeah.
like, up or forward.
7, 5 reserve request of physical materials, right?
I had a question about this section in general. I didn't understand it that.
7,
The reserves?
7, you're right. Like, what are reserve items? And then how do we make a request? Was that already discussed?
No, no.
Okay.
We, I think we used to just say holds for this.
Mhm.
But we changed it to reserves and we put the word request in there. But anytime, basically with reserve items, you can go into the catalog and place an item on reserve,
Mhm.
where you are holding it for you,
Mhm.
and then it's held at the library for you.
Okay.
I think that if it had said hold, I would have remembered like this process, but okay. Do we think we need to define it or no? Sometimes we take pains to define something and sometimes we assume. So I don't know.
I was like, that's up to, I think working at the library, it, I see it so much. I'm like, how would I define it? It becomes like second nature almost.
In the process of somebody placing a reservation,
Mm-hmm.
when they go to that system and put a reserve on it, does it tell them what that means?
In the catalog, let's check this out.
I feel like the more you read into the paragraph, it becomes clear what reserves is, but not at the top, like not at the beginning of it.
When you see the book in the catalog, you can either say like, yeah, you click on the button and it just says, reserve this book.
Yeah.
Or request this book. Maybe it says request this book.
Let's see, I have to log in first. Once I log in, we can see the actual wording. And you know that adult that doesn't know their library card number, that's me. Let's see.
What if it said borrowers may request to reserve up to 5? Something. Instead of may have up to. Because then it's that action, like you can do this in a text.
Okay. Yeah, so the catalog does say, like, when you go to a specific item, it does say reserve this item.
Okay.
So then you're requesting to reserve up to.
Up to 5 physical materials at once.
Request. Like borrowers may request to reserve up to 5. Is that too many twos?
I don't
No.
think so.
So you said borrowers may request to reserve
Mhm.
up to 5 reserved.
5 physical
No, then-
materials.
After 5, you can just be physical.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
That
to-
sentence reads better. It's a little bit awkward to have reserves read like a noun. It could maybe be reserved items, when reserved items are ready for pickup.
Yeah, when reserved items are
Mhm.
third line down, yeah. Good catch.
For the second sentence, this includes active/pending requests, comma, and items on the reserve shelf. Should it be active, comma, pending, comma, and on the reserve shelf, or just take out the comma? Because that's not really a list.
And then there's one more sentence where, like the next to last sentence where reserves is, could be changed to reserved items again. You just passed it. No. Borrowers have 5 business days to pick up reserved items. There we go.
Thank you.
If borrowers want to cancel reserved items. Or reservations.
We really like the word reserves.
But yeah, is
And,
it too
and the
many
last
times?
word should be items. or reserve.
But, or you can
Items.
just, I
Yeah.
think you could actually even just end the sentence after cancel. They could notify the public library to cancel.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
and take
that
all
makes
that.
sense.
We also consistently say materials in the other policy versus items.
That's true.
Let me just change those real quick.
While you're changing that,
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
is there a reason why we have 5 business days? I mean, is that really what y'all mean? That it's a business day and not a calendar day? And the only reason is because it really stands out everywhere else. It's calendar days. So is that what y'all go off of?
We say business days because our system, whenever we're closed, like the library's closed, we gray out those days, so those days don't count
For reserves?
for reserves.
But then up above, the 21 days, and even in that same section, well, right up above, it has 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So that is calendar
Those
days.
are calendar
Okay,
days.
so everything else, so you,
Yeah.
you were per.
I think that the language reserves is being taken out of that entire paragraph. It should no longer be the heading. As a former librarian, I do feel a little weird about taking the word reserves out, but if the consensus among everyone is that that isn't language that is familiar to people, then I'm cool with that. But it is just weird because that's what it is.
Yeah. But I definitely understand, like, I wanted to read where, like, just maybe someone that doesn't use the library doesn't understand or anything, but I wanted to read where they can understand it.
Yeah.
Is it too dissonant?
Yeah, if someone came in the library and was like, hey, I want to do a reserve, I want to reserve some materials, is that too far out?
Oh, no.
No.
Mm-mm.
But the librarian would be like, your reserves are ready.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
I actually think that, so the system, since our system will send automated messages, and I actually think it'll say, item you requested or an item you reserved is now available for pickup.
Okay.
And
So
just-
it will match this, is what you're saying.
Mhm.
Section 8.
Wait,
Third
before
bullet.
that last sentence, borrowers must refer to each digital platform for specific hold limits on e-content.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
want to keep hold limits or change that wording?
That's- And I actually think like Overdrive, things like that, it says they hold. I know that because I have all my I have way too many items on my hold shelf that I couldn't put anything
Mhm.
else.
Yeah, on Libby too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get disappointed that you can't hold very many items on Libby.
You can-
have no idea how long it's actually going to take.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting we go back to hold?
No, I like it because it's consistent. And then if someone goes into usually when people like go into the apps and they can see like, or if they have questions, they can ask us. But if it's not available, it'll tell you you can place it on hold.
It sure
until-
will.
Yeah.
Anything else, item 7? Hearing none, Mary, item 8.
Third bullet, the period at the end, outside the parentheses.
I also thought for the beginning of this section, should it be borrowing materials and accessing digital collections?
Yeah. We did, this was when we changed the wording from our previous time because it said their accounts would be blocked or something. We wanted to make sure we distinguished that they just wouldn't be able to borrow
I don't
materials.
think you need that.
So we changed the lingo to borrowing materials and accessing digital collections, because it used to just say like blocked accounts. The lingo was weird, and we wanted to make sure they knew that they could still use the library.
I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't take it
You
with
just
you.
can't borrow, yeah, like still come visit us.
No reading aloud. That last bullet.
I know.
It's not, it doesn't land right.
Yeah, we can talk it out.
I get the intent, like, it's kind of this catch-all, like, sometimes there's things that we need to work out before you can borrow things. Can I just say other
Oh.
problems assessed by other staff?
Race. Maybe it's not assessed, maybe it's race. Because you're not really assessing something, you're raising
Yeah.
an issue.
And in practice, can any library staff raise a concern that would prevent a patron from checking out books? Or is that limited to the director or other leadership at?
Yeah, it usually would be the director that makes that ultimate decision.
Other determinations made by or at the library director's discretion?
I think that's what we have said in other policies is at the director's discretion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other notes, or do we have consensus? Hearing none, we'll plan to table this until we have all the policies ready to go to the legal to move forward. So I'll motion to table this topic for a future meeting. There a second? Seeing a second from Mary, all in favor? Any opposed? This motion passes. Continuing on, item 2, consideration of possible action on the text share policy. Jessica, you want to go through the amendments?
So I feel like we just redid this whole thing. We were having a hard time kind of distinguishing last time between obtaining a text share card from us and then using a text share card from another library with us. And it's confusing. And the state library, we went back to like how they had it, and that it's kind of a confusing program. So we have to accept this and try to figure out how can we make this as in plain language as possible, where if someone was to read this, they would understand. So,
And so you're saying the language presented here better mirrors the existing text share policy from like the text share.
yeah, so they have it as get a text share, use a text share. And so we're like, okay, how can we make this where it's kind of similar, but also reflects like that, how we go about this process. So we didn't have a paragraph in our original policy explaining it, because we were just like, just go to the website. But after we sat down and talked about it, we were like, maybe we should try to explain it. And it's still kind of confusing.
the term members. I think that's the first thing that comes out.
Yeah, we had members, because of we were trying to say like members of the texture card program as a whole, like not just with the Kyle Public Library, but people that use that system as a whole.
Program members?
Yeah, we're having, I'm like, how do you phrase this?
So probably not patrons.
That's why it was members to like say if they're members of the texture program.
We're capitalizing program in some places and not in others.
So like, yeah.
Also that, another typo, that second sentence, text share, the S is not capitalized wherever else it is.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the one.
What if it, in that second sentence, is that the second? That's a long sentence. Members should check out materials from participating libraries
Yeah, that's one I was looking at.
that, check out materials. It's because it, instead of, I don't have a solution for the entire plot, that entire, but their home library might not have,
Yeah.
like, unavailable at their home library.
Oh, okay.
So check out materials.
I think it is important, though, that patrons are not confused, that it's not just like, oh, there's no copies of Tom Lincoln right now, get me one from Dallas. It's that this library does not own that. So I don't know if the
Oh.
word unavailable, it may just suggest to people that it's not in, so I could get it from a different library, but that is not what it does. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's
Yeah.
that we must not have a copy here at all, just
Period.
not.
How do you enforce that?
The texture?
Like if I'm a member of this library and we don't have any more copies of whatever Reese's Book Club book is, so I go to another participating library, I have the right card, they have it, I can check it out, right?
Yeah.
So it is if it's unavailable.
If this is for like, I'm here
Yeah.
and I'm going to this desk here, I'm saying, I want a copy of Tom Lake, they'll just be like, oh, you have to wait for us to get it in. Or they'd be like, no, we don't have one at all, but if you have a texture card, you could get it from a different library. Not if I physically went to a different library, right?
You still have to physically go to that library.
I'd have to physically go. to
Yeah, the texture
Yeah.
card, well, like, it's like a little passport, basically, like a little passport to go get a library card at another library. You'd have to physically go. So it
That's
can,
the interloan library.
Instead of,
That's
it
the
can be
one I think.
confused with the interloan library policy, where we would grab it for you from another library. So the texture card is basically, if you are in good standing, like, if Kyle Public Library is your home library and you're in good standing, we will issue you this piece of paper that says you are an outstanding patron. You now can go to another library that's part of the texture program and get a library card with them and check out at their library.
It's the interloan library system where the material does not move, the people.
The interloan library is where the material moves to the people, though, so we could
Yes.
request it.
As like the texture is for the people to move.
Yes.
Not the material. to move.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it.
So I have an issue with that sentence because you don't use the card just because your library doesn't have something. You can use texture just because you're
in the city.
you're in the city. Yeah, I'm going to a different city,
Right.
right, traveling and stuff like that. I see it being used more for that purpose instead of, oh, my library doesn't have this material, let me go to another library and see if they have it.
And is it just,
I feel like it should be a period after libraries. It just allows you to go check out materials for whatever.
Right, good point, good point.
Sorry, Spencer.
You're good.
I know, like, moving on.
Oh, this is confusing.
This is the confusing, I know.
Yeah. It's not the it's the program that's, it's just hard to like explain.
We were talking about it yesterday and we're like, it confuses us.
I haven't met a program that's easy to explain yet, so. Any program.
I think section 2 makes sense. It's section 3 where I'm like, I don't know if these words
Okay,
are the right words. It's like section 2 is just like, yeah, we'll give you a card.
yeah.
So is it an actual card?
Yeah, so they actually will bring like this physical card and says TechShare card. And so it's this card, it'll say TechShare card and it says home library and it will list their home library. And then it'll say like their number, their home library library card number. And then there's a spot to write like in good standing. So they'll bring this actual card to us and they'll say, in our system, they'll say, can I get a TechShare card with you or a library card? Their lingo always changes. And so we take that card and then we'll issue them a library card with us. But you know how we had the restricted account,
Mhm.
the unrestricted account, and then the third type is the TechShare account. And so in our system, yeah, it says TechShare. And it's basically saying that we're not their home library.
And
Okay,
you will give them a Kyle library card?
Yes.
I got
But
you.
the account on our end will say TechShare, and then that's how we'll know that we're not their home library.
designation.
Yeah,
And so it's just, and that is so that they, as a non-resident, get a library card and don't have to pay for it.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
I know I said I liked section 2,
Yeah,
but is it
section 2 is-
necessary? But is it necessary to add like a little, and then you do this thing and then we give you a thing, and then you go away?
But not only that, the first sentence is talking about card holders, which I'm assuming is referring to the adult. But then you go the second sentence into members under the age of 18. So now you're not a card holder.
But youth can be card holders.
Correct, but members. Members versus a card holder.
Oh, like it's different.
Mhm.
Should we just change that to card holders?
So what do you do? Like if I, clearly none of us have this card. We walk into the library, we look at you, we're like, hello, I want the TechShare thingy. And then you look up my account, it looks good, then what?
Then we will get our TechShare card and we'll write like Kyle Public Library on it, so they know your home library. We'll write your number, your account number, just in case like they need to call us or something, the date, and then there's a spot to initial and write like in good standing. So like we're giving you that, it's like showing like you are a good patron with us and you can go use other libraries outside of the system and get a library card elsewhere. Like if you went to Austin with a TechShare card, you can get like a APL card. There would be limitations, of course, but it allows you to borrow materials from other libraries.
So maybe just a crazy idea. Before you get to section 1, it seems like, being that this is very confusing and this is like our third try at this.
It is,
I
it is getting
wonder-
clearer.
It
Okay.
is. And so I think that's what we need as an entry paragraph, explaining in very simple terms the program. And that in essence, TechShare allows people to get, however we need to explain it, but whatever that is in 2 to 3 sentences. And then the purpose should be shorter to say, it allows the members to check out materials from other participating libraries. Because I think what we're trying to
Okay.
do in one is explain the program and the
And its
purpose
purpose.
altogether. Because if you also explain the program, I wonder if in there you make the distinction between the card holder and the member. Because otherwise, I don't know,
No, that's a good
if we don't
point.
start right, it's not gonna flow correctly.
Top down.
Yeah.
I don't know, who wants to come up with the opening draft?
Like the section one is like, what is a section program?
What's this,
Well, you see, I think you don't even need to have a one or two, I think it's just, and we
The
have that
texture
in
program
certain-
is
The
yada
texture
yada.
program
maybe
is.
we could pull it from their like, what's the website say?
It's like if
Then-
you copy and paste right there, you can look.
They have a,
I almost included in my packet, the,
I have
their
it.
little,
It'd be
their
their
little
words.
snips, yeah.
Um,
Look, a texture card provides you with borrowing privileges from about 500 participating libraries across the state.
It's kind of cool.
That's what it is.
Here you go.
Boom, one sentence.
It's the same.
Maybe that's why it's not so clear. Let's see. Of Texas, across the state of Texas.
Or across Texas,
Yeah, across, yeah.
across Texas.
Mhm.
Texture card program?
Now I'm gonna get one.
The texture card?
Well, it's saying a texture card provides
I think you could say the texture card program though, because
that.
I want to avoid using the word
Yeah,
card
put that
too much, because
website in.
we're gonna use card a bunch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of what we were trying to like make that distinction between like the program itself and then like how it affects us on our end.
Mhm.
Can we change new to members? Does that make sense? And also kind of suggest what a member is?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Good catch. That clears it up a lot.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna go back to that.
So then in section one, could we take out the second sentence?
Do we
Mhm.
need that? Why do we have section one?
Is the purpose of the policy. So the purpose of the policy is
Yeah.
to establish guidelines for obtaining and using a card at the
So
library.
the other, I noticed that the other policies all had that, there's the purpose statement,
Yeah.
and I was like, there should probably be a purpose statement.
I'm gonna post it.
We're saying delete that sentence that's highlighted.
I think it's okay. I think it's okay to delete it since it's at the top now.
Yeah,
And does it look better if this section is under item one? Because it's just kind of hanging out there off to the side. What's the purpose of section one other than just saying we have a policy?
Mhm.
So there is a program, we participate, this is what we do.
Mhm. I like it. It flows.
You just have to break it out, with 2 words in there. Mhm.
Okay, we feel comfortable with section one. Section two. I added that first sentence while we were debating. Let me know if you hate it.
Since you have 2 mays, the second one to be used.
I think we use borrow in the beginning, so
To borrow.
Yeah.
maybe when you use borrow, I
We can
don't know if you want to use borrow or check out consistently.
So then you don't need to be used. It's basically to borrow in essence, right? Because it's, yeah, there you go.
okay.
For that, and still in section 2, in the first sentence of that second paragraph, I think you can make it more succinct if you just, Cal Public Library card holders must have an account in good standing older than 2 months. Because it's must have an account older than 2 months and with no blocks on the account.
We had it at good standing, and the reason we took off good standing and put no blocks
Yeah.
is, we were like, that leaves a lot up for like interpretation, like at good standing with
Okay.
like, but with our system, like if the system, you can go into our system and if it's blocked, it'll say blocked and you can see
Okay.
like, usually that's the only reason we won't issue somebody is because like, their account is blocked. And so with good standing, there can be confusion as far as like, especially on our end, like if they owe any fines,
Mhm.
are they in good standing
Mm.
and their account's not blocked? So like
I
if
can
they
see
owe
the
like,
confusion there. Okay.
so we were like,
So-
we didn't want to make it where it's like, oh, now we have to explain good standing where like you can't owe, your account has to be completely clear of fines, you know, so we
I don't
thought.
think we defined
And
good
the
standing.
policy that we just looked at circulation, we say blocked, we don't say good standing.
Yeah.
Correct.
we said block,
Got it.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
keeping it blocked consistently, at least we can reference each other.
And because with the, if it's blocked, it means it's like you owe more than $10, so it kind of kept it consistent on our end. So that's why we stuck with that lingo and we took
That
out
makes
good
sense.
standing.
So something else that I think, and I don't know if we want to clarify this on the front end, is that we're trying to talk about the people that have a Cal Library card holder that can request a text share card to go to another city and get books or whatever. But at the same time, you're talking about other
Mhm,
people who in Austin have the Austin Library card and they come here
mhm.
with already a text share card, right? So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's section 3. Section 2 is
Okay.
you're a card holder. Section 2 is only you are a card holder here,
Mhm.
but section 3, so I think it's clear
You think
because
it's fine? Yeah?
I think
Okay.
it's, I mean, it needs some massaging, but I think the separation between 2 and 3 gets clearer and clearer. And I like that it tackles our cardholders first. It's like, let's take care of our own. You are our
People.
people.
Mhm.
This is what you need to do. And then in 3, it's, hello, people visiting. This is how you follow our guidelines.
And I just changed that first sentence to clarify of when you're visiting someplace else, that way it mirrors the third section of when they're visiting us.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Any other
Mm.
concerns with?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is confusing because it sounds like what you're saying is a card holder may request a card while visiting another library.
Cardholders may request-
To borrow materials from another participating.
While
Library
they visit
system, yeah.
another.
So is it just from, to borrow materials from another?
library.
To be used when visiting another participating library.
Yep.
How are we feeling about it?
The first sentence, I like it. The second sentence, we need to choose. Either it's gonna be and or with no blocks. I think with.
I would say and, because with makes it sound like the note blocks has to be 2 months. Like the 2 months is tied to the age of the account, not the
Oh,
age of the
yeah.
no blocks.
Did you want to add a little something about what they need to do or no?
So for the policy, we wanted to keep it to just very like, this is what, like, these are your qualifications to get a library card. And then we thought as far as like the process, that could be separate.
And my concern there, in support of what you're saying, is that if the process changes by TechShare or anybody else, sending it to council every time that something else changes by a third party, it's gonna be a nightmare.
How are we feeling?
But two?
With three,
So.
Sounds like an eye test.
We
The
have-
one or the two?
if you squint, does it look better or worse?
So with three, borrowing
Yes.
does not match up to what's in one, the very last sentence. Because to establish guidelines for obtaining and using a texture card. So if you're wanting to keep it consistent.
Using a texture card from another library.
Yeah. And then
You've lost me, I'm sorry.
using a text share card
On the heading of 3.
of three.
Oh, this one, using.
Using a.
Can we fix the line breaks in section 2?
Can we fix the language?
The line breaks?
The
in section
line
2?
breaks. As in, you want this to go away?
Yes, please. About text share card holders visiting from another library.
Well, it said members, because I thought we said members up above.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Card holder, card visiting text share.
Visiting
card
text share members.
Oh.
Should it be can present their text share card? Cause it's not the library's card.
Their text share card from
Yeah.
another library or just their text share card? Issued by their home library?
Their tech share card because you couldn't get one from here to use, you could, I guess, but.
They would confuse us.
We're gonna do some secret shopping here.
Yeah,
I think that's.
I'm like,
good.
wait a minute.
yeah. I don't know how many people are gonna read that part of the policy. If it's not their home, I'm not reading other libraries'
No.
policy.
No, but you still have to have it.
But it has to be in there, but I think, if they've already got their card, they've already been through this, so
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think we could keep it pretty short.
Mhm.
Is section 4 for the entire program or just Kyle?
that's just Kyle. Every system is different. I think APL, it's like 10 items.
Could those two sections be combined then? Because it's,
Correct.
because it's still under that, using a texture card from another
Um,
library.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Is it take share borrowers or members?
Member.
Mhm. Second line, the second paragraph. After text share.
These materials. Ooh, we have 4 items. Do we want 4 material? No, 4.
So if we have on the circulation policy
Items.
right here, That way,
If you change one, you don't have to change the other.
I know that you, just like typed a pretty sentence, but you already wrote one. Borrowing loan period, renewal and hold guidelines shall be limited in quantity and duration as outlined by.
sure. Just can you
Just
read
so
that
that-
to me again slower?
Yeah.
Texture members are,
Oh, it's from a circulation.
We're gonna have to wordsmith it, but the sentence reads borrowing loan period, comma, renewal, comma, and hold guidelines shall be limited in quantity and duration as outlined in the Kyle Public Library circulation guidelines chart. As outlined in the Kyle Public Library circulation guidelines chart.
so texture members,
So borrow. And get rid of our.
to bond loan period renewal and loan guidelines. That's what that said, correct?
Hold guidelines.
Old guidelines. Let's do reservation because we changed that before.
Ooh.
Are limited in quantity and duration as outlined in the Kyle Public Library circulation policy.
Circulation, yeah. Unless you want to say guidelines chart specifically.
I like circulation policy so they know like which policy to
Mhm.
reference.
Because we don't, same trap, like we have it here and then you change it one place, so
Yeah.
then you don't have that problem.
I don't like how we have limited twice. Or to follow the borrowing loan period. It sounds more open and less harsh
Yeah.
on visitors.
And reservation. Texture members must follow.
I don't like that sentence at all.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I think it needs to be broken up. Textual members must follow the borrowing loan period and renewal period, reservation guidelines or limited quantity duration. It doesn't flow
It's really
right.
weird.
It is
Yeah.
very weird.
So the chart we have talks about loan period, number of items, and renewal frequency.
Can you go to the top of that chart? Because that's where the sentence lives.
So we said this would be reservation.
So then you start with that, if that makes sense, borrowing loan period, renewal and reservation guidelines must be followed by take share
Yeah.
card holders.
Or I wonder if we do it like this. We don't talk about the texture card holders, leave one less variable out of it. And we just say, like, follow this policy that exists.
Yeah, that's easy. I'm gonna read it.
Correct.
So not shall be limited, but shall be followed. Well, I guess.
Yeah, that looks, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Green.
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to run.
Yes.
My wife is texting me and we know where I am, but I'll follow up with you tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks,
Thank
Jerry.
you.
Sorry.
Appreciate
No,
it.
you're
No,
good.
no worries.
We get a little into it around here.
You guys did a great job.
I love it.
Really?
I'm like, I need it to make sense.
Just ask texture line, Jerry, and your wife will be here next time.
Exactly.
I don't think that's gonna happen. Bye.
Bye, have a good night.
We feel comfortable with paragraph 1 and 2 as written.
Yes, yes. that's-
Except the next period.
Much better.
oh, yeah.
Okay,
Section 4 is scrapped.
take that last
And
item.
that is also scrapped.
Great.
Look
at that.
And it reads much better.
There's
There's like no red lines and blue lines.
100% in the corner. All right, you feel good here?
Yes,
Motion to table this policy for a future meeting.
yes.
There's been a motion, the second for Mary, all in favor,
Yes.
any opposed? Motion passes. Item 3, library director's report.
Awesome. So I didn't make y'all a fancy little info guide this time, but I can put the information in a table. So for the next meeting, because we ended the fiscal year and we're getting ready to start submitting that accreditation report, we are already pulling numbers. So for the next meeting, I will be able to show y'all the numbers for the previous fiscal year. So, and then I remember a couple of meetings ago, what we had the numbers for like pre-pandemic and then pandemic, and then how it affected us after the pandemic. So I'll be able to draw the numbers from the 2022, 2023 fiscal year and put it into that to see where we're heading, if we're heading in the right direction. So December is always a slow month for us. Staff, we like to take, everyone takes a breather. We're all like, and breathe. So numbers are always a little lower, circulation's always a little lower. Digital circulation never lowers, it's always consistent. So that's one thing we have going for us, but it was a good, restful month for everyone that does the programs because they need that recharge time. And then we'll see what January, what kind of numbers we get for January. And on a lighter note, because I like to laugh and have fun at work, and we have to keep it fun. What y'all might not know is that the library staff are squirrel whisperers, and we had a squirrel loose in the library. And we called animal control, but it turns out that squirrel was not about animal control. And somehow the staff got it out into the foyer, and we were able to close the doors and get the, and you look out and you just see like 5 people running back and forth, and you're like, what is happening? They got the squirrel out, and that squirrel lives to see another day. So I had to share that because it was such a beautiful bonding moment, and it just had us laughing. So I am now convinced we need a squirrel mascot because of that. But so yeah, December was just a restful month, and then some of the things we have coming up is we are doing a tiny art showcase for school-age children. And we have already handed out, gosh, we just started passing out canvases, probably over 50 canvases. And we just started passing them out Monday. So we're getting a lot of interest for it. We're going to do 2 open art studios for people that might not have art supplies at home. And so those are coming up on the 19th and 20th. And then the cool event, if anyone wants to help out or volunteer, you can tell me. We are going to do a first look on February 3rd. It's a Saturday where we'll have like kind of like an exhibit, like a first look exhibit. And we have reached out to a local cello teacher to see if any of her students would be willing to play on the side. And have this whole vibe and have like cheeses and crackers and sparkling grape juice and make it like a big deal for these students. So if anyone wants to volunteer, we're all about the experience and the vibe and making it special for our youth.
Sounds fun.
So that is going to be February 3rd. Yeah. And we would need help potentially the day of it's going to be on this awesome board behind y'all. And we're going to try to put it out in the lobby and create like this whole atmosphere, but it would be needing help the day of getting things situated and potentially the day before on getting the artwork up.
Okay.
So, those are two things. February is I love my library month or love your library month. And so we are going to try to do a backdrop with hearts and try to encourage and try to do this whole social media push where we're like, take a selfie at Kyle Public Library and post it and tag us and try to get that going. So that's February. And then we're working on the accreditation reports. Michael sat in on a webinar today to get a better understanding. I've done it in Hutto, so I have a pretty good understanding. And then I'm not sure when Colleen will be back, but she's done it too. So we are prepping for that. And I think I can't think of anything else. Yeah, we're just trucking along now.
So what time on the 3rd do you need help?
So this is at 2, and so we were thinking we would potentially need help. If you want to do 2 to 3:30, the actual program, that would be nice. But we're looking at needing help maybe like 12 to 2, and then the cleanup process, the 3:30 to like 4:30. We're gonna try to be fast with the cleanup,
So from 12 to 2
and then like 3:30.
3:30.
It's probably gonna be 5. Let's be honest,
Okay.
3:30 to 5.
What about on the second?
So the second, I'd have to get back to you because we still have to figure out how we're gonna do that.
So
Um,
you can put me down for that day. On
Awesome.
12:30, on 2/3.
Yay, perfect. Mary,
I'll email you about the day before.
okay, so that sounds perfect. We're really excited and we're thinking if this goes well, we've had a lot of adults ask if they can participate. So we're like, if this goes well, we'll do another one for adults.
With cellos and sparklers.
It doesn't count if there's no cellos.
Right.
I don't know if y'all came to the typewriter event in December, if anyone came to that, but we, Michael partnered up with the Austin typewriter. Ooh, I forgot the official name, but he was on one side of the meeting room and the cello was doing a like a recital on the other side. And so people over there, it was like this whole cool experience. They're just typing on these typewriters and there's like cello playing in the background. And then I was like, we need to make that happen again. And they will be back, the typewriter people will be back in February
Typewriters
to
are very
do, yes, so people can come and type up love letters or love your library letters. Yeah.
Any questions or anything else in that library search report?
No.
Hearing none. Item 4, Friends of the Kyle Library report.
Oh, I meant to go, our outreach librarian started, by the way. Hey, Bruce. So heads up on that. He used to be here and then he worked at APL and now he's back and we're excited. So I'm gonna try to get him to come to our meeting. So y'all can meet him. Jane from the Friends Group gave us their 2023 year end update. It's the numbers in front of you. We really didn't talk too much about it, but we do have the information in front of us and they're always saying if we need anything, just to reach out. So they've been really lovely about that. But it looks like they're pretty consistent.
Any questions? Anything else there? Hearing none, that completes continued business. Next item, announcements, informational items, and next meeting. The next meeting of the library board will be Thursday, February 8th at 7 p.m. Are there any other topics for discussion tonight? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion from Christina. Is there a second? second from Joy, all in favor? Any opposed? We are adjourned at 8:20.
Some stuff done.
You did it.
Mm.
You want me to